The wife and I bought the Mach E because we needed a comfortable, regular car. I have 3 old European cars. She has her old Japanese van, and we literally just needed an appliance. And from that perspective, the things that are the most important to us are comfort and usability, technology and the stereo, and then driving dynamics and range, sort of in that order. From a comfort perspective, you can fit a lot of different size drivers in the Mach E, and it's good. It's spacious, it's airy in here. The seat has adjustable lumbar. Downside though is when Ford makes comfortable seats as opposed to race car-y Recaro type seats, they don't have a whole lot of structure. They're kind of balloony, almost like living room furniture. And so if you're very heavy like me, trust me, I know, because I've owned a bunch of Fords, over tens of thousands of miles, you will deform this seat a bit. It will lean to one side and not. And I'm starting to, it's not happening in this car with 1,600 miles on it, but I'm starting to feel the beginnings of it eventually happening down the road. Something to consider if you are buying one of these for the long haul.
Hey folks, today's video is brought to you by Ritual. Look, I'm no model of this, but even if you're Zach Clapman and you eat just kale and bland chicken and brown rice with no spices, even then you might have gaps in your diet. The fact is, our bodies are still meant to do certain things that don't apply to today's world. There's gaps in our diet. That's where Ritual comes in. Ritual is formulated with key nutrients, including vitamin D3 and omega-3 DHA to help fill gaps in your diet. Sugars, GMOs, synthetic fillers, artificial colorants are all ingredients you might find in a multivitamin, but Ritual isn't a typical multivitamin. Ritual's clean, vegan-friendly formula is made with key nutrients in forms that your body can actually use with no shady extras. Their fresh-tasting, delayed-release capsules are designed to dissolve later in less sensitive areas of the stomach and can be taken with or without food. It's made traceable so you know where your nutrients come from thanks to their one-of-a-kind visible supply chain. They even send you this cheat sheet right here that shows you not just what's in these things, but where in the world it comes from Illinois to Argentina, Utah to Saskatoon, which is just fun to say. Your multivitamins are delivered to your door each month, free shipping included, and if you don't like them after the first month, cancel, no obligation. Hit the link in the description, try them out for yourself at no risk, and if you use our link, you get 10% off Ritual for the first 3 months. Try it for yourself and see, and thanks to Ritual for sponsoring today's video.
The rear seat, while not particularly impressive to look at, it actually does look kind of flat, offers a more impressive amount of room than one might think. And that's because of the sort of false roof. If you look at the roof line, it looks very low. But there's actually, the real roof is the black part that's higher. And that's way up in here. So although the entrance port is low, there's probably 8 inches of headroom above that door frame. So I've had my father, who you saw on our podcast, at 6'5", sitting in the back seat of this car, behind my mother, who's 5'8" in the front. So you can fit tall people in the back. Lastly, I was concerned about the glass panoramic roof, which is the only way you can get a Mach E. You can't get the regular roof, right? There is no regular roof, it's just this. I thought, we're in SoCal, it's the summer, this thing is gonna cook. Turns out, this glass offers a lot of UV protection, and the interior doesn't get or feel any hotter than a car with a regular roof. It's good. This is obviously the most technologically advanced Ford ever made, and the interface clearly was inspired by the Tesla tablets, okay? Credit where it's due to Tesla. The way this works is your main menu is here, and whatever you click goes up to the main screen, right? And then they all sort of slide over. It's a pretty simple system when you get used to it. For me and my phone, which is an Apple iPhone 12 mini, this system has worked absolutely seamlessly. Wireless charging right here, wireless CarPlay connectivity, no issues at all. My wife has an iPhone 10, okay? she has had some connectivity issues. When she connects over CarPlay and a phone call comes in, sometimes the whole thing freezes and she has to restart the phone to make it fix itself. At this point, we've been in contact with Ford, their engineering team, and they're having us do various procedures to try and eliminate what the problem could be. It never happens with my phone, it only happens with her phone, and we are unsure if the problem is the tablet, the car, or the phone. And so when I have an update on that, I will give it to you. However, after our early hiccups, the very first couple of days, the tablet froze, requiring a restart. There was 2 over-the-air updates, and that issue has been completely gone. So aside from my wife's phone having a little bit of trouble connecting with wireless CarPlay, the technology aspect of it, as well as the Bang & Olufsen stereo, has been really, really good. If you saw Zach and I's original review of the Mach E press car, you will probably remember that I was having trouble with the phone as a key system. No key detected, but my phone is the key. But the Ford app is frozen because I have no service, so it doesn't want to.
And what's the deal with the passcode?
Well, in theory, you should have a passcode. I thought I made one. I thought locked out of passcode entry. The app is frozen. The Ford Pass app won't open. I have no service because there's no service in the canyon. The phone on the pad. Oh, dude. We have a real problem now.
We have to live here.
With our personal car, my wife and I are not using that system. We didn't like it. We tried it. We didn't want to use it. We use the regular old Ford key that they gave us. That's the good news. You get a regular key. It operates just like any other car. The bad news is they used to give you 2 of these when you bought a car. Now they only give you 1. So if 2 people, let's say a husband and a wife, share a car, and let's say the husband is 6'3" and 260 pounds, and the wife is 5'2" and 100 and very few pounds. And let's say that I like my settings and the wife likes her settings to be a little different. That would be easily programmable with 2 different phones as keys. It would be easily programmable with 2 different keys as keys. But in order to have our driver profiles, we can't share a key, which is what we're doing. So we have to manually switch our seat and our driving modes when we go back and forth. Or I have to suck it up and start using the phone as a key. In general, I think the Mach E is actually very well designed. It's highly functional and it's attractive, but there is one little thing that is unbelievably overlooked. The design of the hatch cover, this falls off so easily, and I really often, look, it's just resting. It's just a thing that rests in these hooks. It doesn't snap in properly. So when all you have to do is brush it a little bit or have something a little too tall and it just falls out. It's the only bad bit of design in the entire car. It's crazy that they got out of the factory like that. Up here in the canyons, not much has changed. It's a lovely handling car with no gears. There's always power available. And with the 1-pedal driving, the regen, it works. It keeps the range reasonable when you're mobbing. It doesn't eat through a ton of range. Having said that, I don't come up in the canyons with this car really, except to go on shoots. The one thing that my opinion has evolved a little bit throughout my 3 months of owning the car is with the suspension, specifically the tuning of the shocks and springs. Originally, I thought it was really, really nice. Now that I drive a little more on the 405 and the bumpy roads, I think it's a little bit busy and in some ways a little bit unrefined. The GT is coming out with a mag ride soon. That will likely fix that situation, but it's a lot more money. So is it a deal breaker? No, certainly not. But is it something that I didn't think about before and am now starting to think about? Yes, the suspension has some, let's call them economy car roots.
Does it feel like it's oversprung and too stiff, or does it feel like the damping doesn't slow that bounce down?
I think the latter. I think the damping isn't quite precise enough to control the bounce of a stiff,
right, so you get that kind of
a
float,
stiff spring. Right,
the after
right.
float after
Yes.
the bump. Okay.
A secondary motion.
Right.
Sometimes it's not bad, and people that aren't very sensitive probably wouldn't notice it. But if you've driven a lot of economy cars and then you've driven a lot of luxury cars, typically what differentiates them is those after shocks.
Right,
You know,
a good suspension setup settles right after the bump, the first hit.
Right.
And then a cheaper car will have like a ghost bump. You know, it's like throwing a pebble into the water and it dissipates and the waves get smaller and smaller.
Right, and when we were just driving the Mach 1 with magnetic ride shocks on normal mode, you could see how that applied to this would be very good.
Right.
Then there is the range. When we tested the press car, which was a premium long-range all-wheel drive, I achieved the claimed 270-mile range set by Ford. I didn't even try. Set the cruise, hit the highway, and that was it. This one is the same car, but rear-wheel drive. So in theory, it has a 295-mile range. Although I have not tried to push that, our experience, the wife and I, is that in everyday run around the city, don't really pay attention to its situations, it does about 250. And if you are on the highway, not trying, meaning no cruise control, going 85 to San Diego, it'll do about 270. And if I use the cruise control at 70 miles an hour or 75 instead of 85, it will return the range that is expected.
Okay, so it's delivering as expected.
Yes. The good news is, even after our first test determined that Ford does their math pretty accurately, and now testing a rear-wheel drive car over 1,600 miles, I can say that it was accurate then, still accurate.
Do you charge it every time you get home?
My charging situation is a 110-volt charger at home, and we do not use it every time. And then a 240-volt charger at Westside Collector Car Storage that I put this thing on about 1 day a week.
Okay.
And we've used a public charger one time, and that was only because it was there. I mean, literally.
Was it a super fast?
No, it wasn't even that fast. It was like Hanna drove, because Hanna goes to see her brother in San Diego. That's the longest drive this car does. And it can make it there and back in one charge. But she was going to a place that had a charger there. So she was like, oh, let me do this. And she plugged it in, and it was like a 7 kilowatt. She was there for 5 or 6 hours and got 50 miles out of it. So it worked, but I don't want to impose our lifestyle and use case on someone else. We did the math first. We did the math and found within our lifestyle, we have enough charging opportunity at home to keep this thing alive, rarely if ever using public.
Yeah.
And so that's what it's been.
Yeah.
And that was accurate and is still accurate.
Yeah, the ranges are good enough for a lot of people.
Right.
Just do the math beforehand. And also, if you're looking at EVs and you're like, it won't work for me, also do the math, because it might.
Yeah, it might. You may have a good public charging station right next to your house or whatever. You might be able to make it work. But please listen to our experience with the car. Trust us. We're being very honest. But don't argue with me because you live in an apartment and don't have a charger.
Right.
I'm sorry, I can't help you. I realize it won't work with your lifestyle. If you've got a home or an office with charging, you're good to go. So
I found this car very comfortable to ride in. Backseat, passenger seat, everything. The ride's very nice. That's my quick take on it.
It's
very
an
nice
appliance.
car. Yeah.
As an appliance, it's fabulous.
Yep.
It's a fabulous appliance. And it feels like it's built really well. This is not a knock on other EV makers specifically, but even by Ford standards, it does seem like it's built really well, which is nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. We will do another update at the 6-month mark or at some other period of time that we feel is important to say something. We'll see you later.
And remember, always fight your tickets. Use code TST10 on the Off the Record app available in the Android and iOS store, or go to offtherecord.com/TST.